I arrived at the Savannah Yacht and Heritage Club knowing I already stood out. Everyone else floated through the entrance in silk and jewels. But I slipped in wearing a navy dress I bought on clearance and a pair of heels I prayed would survive the night. My mother spotted me first. "Naomi, darling," Helena said, her smile tight enough to cut glass. "You look simple tonight." My father barely glanced up from the cluster of politicians around him. "At least you came on time," he said. "Chase was convinced you would forget." My brother, standing behind him with a bourbon in hand, grinned like he had been waiting for his cue. She drove up in that ancient truck again. I heard it rattling from the valet stand. I took a breath. Steady. "It runs." "That is not the point," Chase said, swirling his drink. "Appearance matters, especially tonight." I let the words fall the way I always did. Let them stack on top of every comment they had made for years. But something shifted when my father added, "You could have worn something more appropriate. It is your father's 65th, after all." "I wore what I wanted," I said. Chase laughed. "Of course you did." I felt the eyes of nearby guests drift toward us, half curious, half entertained. And maybe this is where you, reading or listening, lean in too, because families like mine never crumble quietly. If you want more of this story, stay with me. There is a whole coastline of secrets ahead. I moved past them and took my seat at the long banquet table, pretending not to notice the empty space left between me and the rest of the Blackwells. Tonight, they expected me to play the role they had written for me. They had no idea the script was about to change. Dinner had barely begun when the first strike landed. "Naomi," my mother said lightly, "the club director mentioned seeing you at the Riverside Market last week. He said you were using coupons." She let the word linger like something sour. Across the table, my sister June shifted uncomfortably, but Chase leaned forward, delighted. "Coupons," he repeated, "at a place where peaches cost more than a decent shirt. Incredible." I cut my steak slowly. "Saving money is not a crime." Chase smirked. "No, but it is a statement, and not the kind this family should be making." My father finally looked at me, really looked, and his expression held the familiar mix of pity and impatience. "This is why your choices worry us. You insist on living near the docks, working, whatever that job is. You could be in a proper office, earning a real salary." "I am doing fine," I said. "Fine is not enough." Chase shot back. "Not for a Blackwell." I felt my jaw tighten, but I kept my voice even. "I am not asking for anyone's approval." Helena sighed as if I had proven a point. "You never do. Naomi, you simply drift." The word stung more than I wanted it to. June reached for her water but said nothing. Trapped between sides, she did not know how to choose. I kept my focus on my plate, letting the noise fade, letting their assumptions pile higher. The higher they built, the farther the fall would be. The servers had just cleared the appetizers when Chase rose from his chair with the confidence of a man who believed the entire room existed for his performance. "Before we continue," he announced, tapping his glass, "we should settle something important. Father's celebration was not cheap." My shoulders stiffened. Here it was. Chase held up a folded sheet of paper, the corners dramatically crisp. "The final total comes to $72,000. A fair price for honoring the Blackwell legacy." "Of course." My father nodded approvingly. My mother looked pleased, already anticipating some public display of unity. But Chase's voice sharpened. "June and I contributed. Mother, too. But there is a remaining amount that needs to be covered." He looked straight at me. $25,000. Your share, Naomi." A few guests paused mid-conversation. Someone's fork clinked against china. I set down my napkin. "You discussed this without me." "We assumed you would not mind," Helena said, her tone dripping with sweetness that did nothing to hide the underlying blade. "Everyone does their part. I never agreed to this." I replied, Chase grinned, thrilled by the tension. Do not worry. We can arrange a payment plan. $2,000 a month. Or is that too steep for a dockside job? I heard soft laughter from nearby tables. Even June's eyes went wide, silently pleading for him to stop. My father folded his hands. No one expects you to have that kind of money available, but participating would show commitment to this family. I show commitment in my own ways, I said. Chase snorted. By hiding. By pretending you are fine. Come on, Naomi. Just admit you cannot afford it. My pulse stayed steady. I had learned long ago that silence could be sharper than any retort, but inside, something settled a quiet click of inevitability. They thought this was the peak of my humiliation. They had no idea how close they were to standing at the edge of their own. I was reaching for my water when a young man in a dark marina uniform approached the table. He hesitated, then leaned toward me. Not Chase, not my parents, just me. Miss Blackwell, he said quietly. The harbor master asked if you could come to the private dock. He said it is urgent. Chase burst into a laugh before I could speak. Urgent. For Naomi. Did a shrimp boat lose a propeller? My mother frowned at him, but not enough to stop him. I stood. Excuse me. Chase pushed back his chair. No, this I have to see. He gestured to a few nearby guests, already gathering an audience. Father, you should come. It will be entertaining. My father sighed, annoyed but curious enough to rise. June followed, worry flickering across her face. I kept my steps measured as we moved through the corridor toward the balcony overlooking the marina. The night air carried the sharp scent of the river, and lights from the docks shimmered below. Behind me, Chase muttered. If this is about some little paddle boat she is babysitting, I swear I did not turn. My heartbeat was steady, almost calm. The timing could not have been more perfect. The balcony doors opened, and the night unfolded beneath us, rows of dock lights glowing against the Savannah River. My family stopped walking when the floodlights along the private marina switched on one by one, illuminating the massive vessel waiting at the end. Chase blinked. What in the hell? A sleek, 155-foot super yacht shimmered into view, its name glowing across the stern, the Mariner Queen. Captain Elias Brooks stood at the foot of the gangway, white uniform crisp under the lights. Beside him, the harbor master clasped a leather folder. My mother whispered, Charles, whose yacht is that? Before my father could answer, the harbor master straightened. Miss Naomi Blackwell, he said clearly. Congratulations. Final acquisition documents are ready for your signature. Silence. A stunned, breathless silence. Chase stepped forward, voice cracking. You must be joking. Her Captain Brooks did not even look at him. We conducted the final system checks earlier this evening. Everything is in perfect order. Your crew is assembled and awaiting instruction. Miss Blackwell. My father finally found his voice. Naomi. What is this? I moved closer to the gangway. It is mine. The harbor master opened the folder. We also received confirmation from your headquarters that the vessel will operate under Blackwell Maritime Holdings. Congratulations again. Ma'am, Chase sputtered. Blackwell what? That is not a real company. It is, Captain Brooks replied. Miss Blackwell is the chief executive officer. The company currently oversees 22 vessels across the Gulf, the Atlantic, and the Caribbean. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. 22. The harbor master continued. Valuation as of last quarter stands at approximately $380 million. A few guests who had followed us gasped outright. Chase stared at me as if I had transformed into someone he had never seen. You live in that dingy loft by the docks. I live where I choose, I said, not where appearances demand. My father took a step toward me, eyes searching my face. You built all this. Without help, without telling us, Captain Brooks held out a pen. When you are ready, Miss Blackwell. I signed my name with a steady hand. Chase shook his head, voice rising. You lied to us. No, I said softly. You assumed. That is different. Behind me. The yacht lights glowed brighter, reflecting off the water like a crown settling into place. For the first time all night, the power in the room on the dock, in my family, shifted entirely, and everyone felt it. My father stared at me as if the ground beneath him had shifted. Naomi, why keep something of this scale hidden from us? I met his eyes, steady. Because you never asked. The words landed harder than any shout. Even the river breeze seemed to pause. Helena stepped forward, her voice trembling. We were worried about you. No, I said. You were embarrassed by me. There is a difference. Chase let out a sharp laugh, brittle at the edges. Oh, come on. Do not turn this around. You show up in thrift store clothes and drive a truck older than half the people here. What were we supposed to think, that I was living on my own terms? I said. But you chose the story that made you feel superior. My father exhaled slowly, like he was trying to piece together a reality that no longer fit. Almost $400 million, he murmured. You built that alone. I built it with work. I said, real work, while you were all pretending I was lost. Chase stepped closer, anger flushing his face. You let us believe you were struggling. You wanted this moment. You wanted to humiliate us. I did not need to humiliate anyone, I replied. You did that yourselves tonight. June finally spoke, her voice small. Naomi, we should have listened. My mother wiped at her eyes, mascara smudging. Why did you not give us a chance to understand I did? I said quietly. But every time I tried, someone reminded me that I was disappointing you. Eventually, I stopped trying. Chase opened his mouth again, but the harbor master's radio crackled behind us, slicing the moment. I turned back toward my family. The truth was out now, raw, irreversible, and none of us could step back into who we had been an hour earlier. Chase stepped in front of our father, his face flushing red beneath the dock lights. Do not listen to her, he snapped. She is twisting everything. She always has. I raised an eyebrow. Twisting all I did was work. You hid it. He barked. You let us think you were barely staying afloat while you built this. He flung an arm toward the yacht. You let us worry. You were not worried. I said, you were smug. Chase's jaw clenched. You wanted this moment. You waited for an audience. I kept my voice even. I waited for nothing. But since we are speaking honestly, your real concern is not me. It is the fact that this, I gestured around us, makes your own failures harder to hide. His eyes widened. What failures? The development on River Landing, I said quietly. The one sinking under unpaid contractors and bad loans. My mother gasped. My father stiffened. Chase surged toward me. You have no idea what you are talking about. I do, I replied. I know you planned to ask Father for a bailout tonight. I know you are one payment away from losing everything. Silence cracked through the air like lightning. Chase's voice dropped to a trembling hiss. You think you have won? This is not a competition, I said. He laughed sharp, frantic. Everything in this family is a competition. I held his gaze, unmoving. Not anymore. My father looked between us, shaken in a way I had never seen. Both of you. Enough. But Chase would not look at him. He stared at the water instead, breathing hard, wounded pride spilling into rage he could not swallow. I stepped back, giving distance to the storm inside him. Then I spoke, calm and deliberate. I am not here to fight you, Chase. I am done fighting for space in a family that never tried to understand me. Helena reached for my arm, voice soft and cracked. Naomi, please, let us fix this. You cannot fix what you never bothered to see, I said. But if you want to try, if any of you want to know who I actually am, you can come to my operations center tomorrow morning at 9. My father blinked. 9. Yes, we have our quarterly review. You can observe, ask questions, meet the people who know the work I do. June nodded quickly, almost eagerly. I will be there. My mother followed with a trembling, so will I. My father straightened, decision settling in his shoulders. I will come. Chase laughed under his breath, bitter and small. Count me out. I expected as much, I said. He walked away without another word. The rest of my family stayed where they were stunned, uncertain, but finally, for once, facing me instead of the version of me they had created. When the others finally drifted back toward the ballroom, I remained on the balcony. The Mariner Queen glowed against the river, steady and certain in a way I had never been allowed to be. My phone buzzed. Marcus Hale, my chief operations officer, had sent a single line. The partnership from Tokyo is approved. 12 new routes confirmed. I exhaled, not from relief, but from recognition. Everything I had built was expanding, whether my family ever understood it or not. Footsteps approached softly. June. She stopped beside me, hands clasped. Naomi, thank you for inviting us tomorrow. I want to know you better, the real you. I nodded. Then show up at 9. That is all I ask. She squeezed my arm and slipped back inside. I looked toward the yacht again, letting the night settle around me. The river moved in slow, deliberate waves, brushing against the hull like a quiet promise. If you are still here with me, listening to all of this unravel, stay with me a little longer. There is more ahead, more than my family ever imagined, and I want you to witness every shift, every choice, every rise. The night air lifted my hair as I whispered to myself, this is only the beginning.